All right, here we are, another day. Um, as you can see, I don't have any plastics on. The reason I don't have any plastics on is because I've decided to go a whole different little direction with this bike. After some consideration, I've just decided to go with like a desert style build. So I'm going to go with 23-inch rear tires, or excuse me, 22-inch rear tires, 23-inch front tires. That'll lift the whole thing up. And today I've decided to build up the motor just a little bit so my wife and kids can enjoy it. And so what I've done is I've bought a monster pipe, pull up monster pipe, like some of the best pipes going, in my opinion. Top notch horsepower. Any dyno curve you look at with a monster pipe is going to be one of the best curves. Super smooth usually. And the other thing I like over the other top brands is the fact that it is one of the best sounding pipes there is. So as you can see, I did a ceramic coat, a black ceramic coat with a black can, black tip, and then I've decided to add a little bling to this one. I got a little gold emblem on it. In addition to that, so that pipe, I had to open up the airbox. So if you look at the holes there, I've opened up the airbox. I got a uni dual layer foam filter with an outerwears on the outside, so I'm going to keep all the dust and everything. What I'm trying to do is just be able to pump more air through the engine, because more air equals more fuel equals more horsepower. So today what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I got some blaster soaking on all these bolts. I'm going to pull the pipe off, put the new pipe on. And originally when I did my carburetor rejet, I was going to do it for an OEM motor. So I'm going to pull the carburetor off and pull the bottom screw out only and replace the main jet. I think I'm going to start out at 165 and see where we're there. I've already changed the pilot up and I changed the leak jet to 55, so I don't think I'm going to have to adjust anything else. The other thing I've done, because I don't know, just because I'm stupid, I decided to buy a hot cam stage 2 and I'm going to install that, but that won't be here till Thursday. So I'm going to hopefully by Thursday, Friday, pull the head off or pull the valve covers off, put a new hot cam stage 2, and then this thing should really freaking rip. And that'll finish off what I want to do for the motor, because basically that's kind of it. I want to leave the OEM motor as stock as I can, and then when it does need a rebuild, that's when I'll go whole hog and decide to do something with that. But I think more importantly with this build, which I haven't really done with other builds, is suspension work. I've been pretty happy overall with the suspension setups that I've gotten on an OEM bike. The Honda suspension is a little stiff. It doesn't really have a whole lot of travel for a 450, so I'm going to send the shocks back east hopefully before I go to St. Anthony's this summer, and I'm going to have a revalve. They add 2 inches of travel to them, and then I'm going to get dual rate springs in the back. I'm going to get that revalved, single stage spring, and a new rear link. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, the rear link is that piece that connects the rear shock and the swing arm right there. And so I'll get that replaced, and that allows you to change the shock linear motion to give you more wheel travel, and it'll even sit down a little lower as well. Now I did see a link, I've still got to do some research. There's one link that supposedly gives you a long travel rear shock with a stock OEM shock that's been revalved. And so if that's the case, that's what I'm going to do, because when I'm all done, I would like to have 11 in front and at least 11 in the rear, maybe more, okay, for what I want to do right now. And that will finish the suspension work. That's hopefully what I can get done before my dune trip this summer. And the last thing I think I'm going to do, since I've already decided, I'm going to rip the stock headlight off. I'm going to fab up a new light bar, and I'm going to install 2 Baja Ambers. That'll be at 40 watts, and I'll get a driving lens. Gives you a little wider spread, but you still get the long throw. And then I think, because the wiring is all right here, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to run another line up here to a 20-watt LED light bar with a diode, and then I should be able to use the existing switch and be able to have either both on, or if I'm riding with my brothers and friends and they're kicking up a lot of dust, I can just turn those off, or excuse me, turn off the handlebar and just leave the ambers on. So that's kind of what I'm going to do to this bad boy. When she's all done, she'll be impressive. I've decided I'm going to go with polyurethane skid plate. I've never used one before. Usually I use aluminum, especially if I can find Ricochet. Ricochet makes some of the best skid plates going, in my opinion. But I think I'm going to go with a urethane belly pan on this, and then rear aluminum Ricochet swing arm skid cover. So that's kind of what I've decided, and she should be a fun little ride when I'm done. And the goal is that I can take this to the dunes, I can take it to the desert. My daughter, who's 17, my son, or excuse me, she's 18, my son, who's turning 17, and then my wife can all ride this, and as well as myself, and have a really good time. Now, one thing I'll say about the suspension that I've learned is sometimes when you're at the drag and at the dunes, your biggest obstacle isn't your motor power, it's your suspension, because going through the whoops, it's hard to stay on the throttle. So we'll just see what happens after I rebuild these and get them revalved, and I think she's gonna be a hell of a bike when she's done. All right, so I'll be back when I get the exhaust on so you can hear it, and if I run into any problems, I'll post that too, just so in case anybody runs into a similar one. All right, so I'm all done. We got the carburetor rack on, rejetted. Good news, bad news. The pipe looks fucking awesome. Sounds great too. I'll start up in a second. But you know, when it rains, it pours. So this thing right here, if you can see it, that's leaking. So the O-ring is dried out inside there. Now fuel's leaking out of it, so I gotta get a replacement part. But we can listen to it run. So here we go.